Welcome back to Fanopy Growth. My name is Jacob, and I'm your host, and I will be going over Canopy Growth Corporation CGC for the last week of trading, which was between August 31st, Monday, to September 4th, Friday, 2020, last week. And we'll be going over some of the stuff that happened. So, we started out the week around 1650 mark there, and we kind of bounced around a little bit. We went up a little bit on Monday and came back down Tuesday. Walked this line. We had a little spike there on the 3rd of September, and the whole market kind of took a drop on Friday. Looks like we dropped down there around the 1556 mark and managed to come back up. Ended the week out around the 1621 mark. So all in all, not too bad of a week. We did have a green week last week, so this is the stock market, so it's going to be up and down. We're in the early stages here. There's a couple of articles that I would like to go over with you guys. One of them that was good was Ontario to double the number of dispensary licenses this fall. We see that they're talking on here about how they're trying to allow more marijuana companies and stores to get licenses in the provinces. So if we look at this article here, talking about how after scrapping the lottery system for its authorizations late last year, AGCO has indeed stepped up the pace of approvals. In April, it gave the green light to 18 new stores, followed by the following month it approved 26, and in June 23 were allowed to open their doors. Each of those tallied exceeds the total number of authorizations from March to December of 2019. So it goes on, talks about that. So they're going to try to keep on allowing stores to come in. This is good news for Canopy, whose Tokyo Smoke brand is available in a clutch of stores in the province. So I think that's a good news for Canopy that they're allowing more stores to come open. One of the earlier things about the whole market was about the size, and it's nice to see that it's growing. So let's keep that up and take a look at another article that we had here. So Canopy Growth is going to participate in Barclays Global Consumer Staples Conference on September 9th. That's this Wednesday. So that's something to look out for. So yeah, they're going to be presenting here. It shows that CEO David Klein and EVP and CFO Mike Lee will be participating in a fireside chat at the Barclays Global Consumer Staples Conference on Wednesday, September 9th, 2020 at 4:40 p.m. Eastern Time. So look out for that. That should be interesting. And I think that they're going to be going over some of the plans, maybe. So I know that I've heard Martha Stewart is hopefully going to be dropping something soon here in September. We'll see. But any good news that we get is going to be good for us, and anything that's going to lead to us becoming profitable or, you know, getting stride in the market. So that's something to look out for. September 9th, we'll learn more about what David and Mike Lee have to speak about. So there's another article that I wanted to look over that I thought was interesting that I found online. This was from, looks like self.com. What to know about the MORE Act, the bill that will deschedule cannabis, and why legalization advocates are so excited about it. It's by Sarah Jacoby. Looks like nice picture there. But yeah, basically they're talking about the historic move that the MORE Act would be if it was brought forward and passed. So they talk about The House of Representatives is set to vote this month on the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act. The bill would deschedule cannabis and therefore decriminalize it at the federal level. Unfortunately, the bill doesn't have the best chances of making it through Congress due to Republican opposition in the Senate. But the fact that it has made it this far and that it will actually be voted on is a big deal. So, thanks to the Controlled Substances Act of 1970, they go on and talk about marijuana and cannabis and how it's been scheduled as a drug that's harmful, but um, people are trying to become more open-minded and change their thoughts about that. So the MORE Act, which was sponsored in the Senate by Vice Presidential candidate Kamala Harris, however you say that, excuse me, would remove cannabis from scheduling and more. So I think that this would be great if it could expunge and seal previous nonviolent federal cannabis-related arrests and convictions for those who are not currently serving their sentences. Those who are currently serving their sentences for federal cannabis arrests and convictions would have the opportunity to have their sentence reviewed and possibly have their records expunged and sentences vacated. So, if marijuana is going to be becoming more acceptable, then we got to kind of look at the past history of it. So, this would be a big thing. You know, you never know what could happen as far as when it comes to politicians, but anything they can do to help us in this battle would be great. So, passage of the MORE Act is essential in order to truly right the wrongs and federal marijuana criminalization, and to once and for all allow the majority of states that have legalized cannabis for either medical or adult use to embrace these policies free from the threat of undue federal prosecution or interference. It's by Paul Armentano, Deputy Director of NORML, said in a statement. So, they've been working on this for a while to try to get this passed and get marijuana just more accepted. Um, Although the MORE Act may never become law, it just shows how much public and political opinion has changed on the subject of cannabis legalization and marks an important step forward in addressing the past and ongoing harms of the war on drugs, which continue to disproportionately affect communities of color. So, me firsthand, I know that, weed has always been stigmatized, or marijuana has always been thought about as like to be bad or inappropriate, but I really feel like it's similar to alcohol, where yeah, it can have an effect on you, but in moderation, I think that it can be an enjoyable experience, um, and I think it's less harmful than alcohol in a lot of ways. I think that you're less dangerous if you're very high on cannabis than if you're very drunk on alcohol. That's just my thought, but but yeah, so that's going to be an interesting thing coming up in September. Um, they say what makes the MORE Act absolutely essential is that it will help communities avoid the very real harms they face daily due to the criminalization and enforcement of our marijuana laws, particularly Black, Latino, excuse me, Latinx, Indigenous, and low-income communities. Daniel Ampad, PhD, Associate Dean for Education and Associate Professor of Epidemiology at the NYU School of Global Public Health, who also signed the DPA letter, said in a statement, federal prohibition is an utter failure and has only served to worsen public and community health. We have waited far too long, and it is essential that Congress act now. So I think that, it'll be great if things could change as far as the perception of it, and I think Canopy is doing a great job leading the way, and I think that we're gonna keep on trying our best. I think that the spirit of Canopy is to be a better alternative, like maybe to alcohol, or a better alternative for sports drinks, a better alternative for animal health, or maybe even, elderly or people, that could use medical help, in various ways. So I think that we're on the early, we got the early train. I think I got in initially somewhere around, maybe 2018 ish. So probably around these times, and it's definitely a lot lower now. But I have faith that we could fight hard and prove to be a good company and prove that the future looks, there's something out here to be made for money. I'm a firm believer that people with money, they don't like to lose their money. So I think that hopefully Constellation can figure out a way to get this thing going upward for the future, upward and onward. So I hope everybody has a great week. This next week coming up. Hope September is a good month for everybody, and hopefully we can all be green. And I'll be here, and you guys will come back and check us out at Fanopy Growth. Um, have a great rest of your evening, day, morning, and take care. Thank you for tuning in.